I'm going to take a minute to share the room and let people get in here. So if you have some setup stuff that you're trying to finish, welcome to the room. Welcome to the show. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes, letting people file in, and I'm going to share it out to the interwebs. So you guys be patient, and then we'll be on in just a second. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Laughter After Trauma Show. My name is Deanna. I am your host. We have here with me my co-host Sheila Tam in her new office that looks fabulous. I'm a speaker, educator, and coach that brings light and lightness to the heavy topic of trauma. And I'm a thriver after intimate partner violence. And on that journey of healing, it just led me to find the beauty and the laughter in the process of healing. And Sheila, my co-host today, is an energy worker. So she also works in this arena where you can tap into that energy and sort that out. She's really good at just getting to the root of everything. And she's actually got some new therapies she's doing. So I'm going to let her talk about that for a minute. But, mostly here what we're doing is we're here to share the positive impact. We want to share hope. We want to share awareness. We want to make connections and encourage everyone to find their laughter after. And today's show, we're talking about the month of love. So Sheila had a newsletter that went out and she said in there, well, now that the year of January is over, and I don't think I've related to a sentence more than that particular sentence. And so when she wrote that, she talked about moving into this month, which most of us kind of like focus in on this month, and and love tends to be the overarching theme. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some tools that you can tap into, and what's the most important love of all, and that's your self love. So kind of we're going to get into this subject too today. So, Sheila, did you want to add anything to the intro, maybe about some of your new stuff that you're doing? You moved to your new office. That's all exciting. I'd love to hear about it.
Well, sure. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here once a month and just be somewhere different. And I like your bangs, by the way.
Oh,
Did you do
thank you.
something different? I really like them. They're very youthful, very cute,
Thanks.
very pixie-like. Okay, so I I love that. Great little audience. I can't wait to take a peek below and see who wants to interact tonight. So the two new modalities are actually blended together that are coming into focus for me more so next month. This month is all about getting ready. Our hypnotherapy an RTT, which is rapid transformational therapy. So the practitioner, I'm the practitioner that uses both of those modalities together, and they're just kind of like energy work on steroids. So yeah, it's really cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm real excited about the hypnotherapy too. So I'm looking forward to trying that one out. It's a really cool concept.
Yeah, we'll get that
Um,
scheduled for sure.
yeah, well, we'll get that done. Maybe that's a March thing. I don't know.
Might be.
But so let's get into our topic tonight because we were having a conversation about this earlier. But talking about how we wanted to approach this in the show, and we really determined we don't want to dwell on the negative, and we also don't want to dwell on the commercialism that happens with the month of love. Um, but we wanted to bring to light that really being complete and whole within yourself and having that self love and how that really impacts all the other relationships you have in your life, regardless of if it's an intimate partner or if it's your family or your friends, your coworkers. It really kind of all feeds out from you. And
Mm-hmm.
so we had decided, you know what, that's kind of what we want to talk about. We all know the stats, we all know the reality of how the industry sometimes makes people feel bad around this time of year or during this holiday time for Valentine's Day. And really, we want people to understand that you're not alone. And truly, if you are exercising self love and using these tools that we give you, you will actually be complete even if you're by yourself. So, being alone does not mean that you have to be lonely. And so, I kind of love that topic. And we're going to kind of approach it from two different vantage points because Sheila is single and understands the experience of just being on your own and how beneficial that has been, and it's by choice. And I am married, which is also by choice, by the way. but but the difference in the dynamics of how that impacts what what um what you can give to yourself, because we had this part of the conversation of really when you have relationships that you are trying to nourish, that sometimes having those relationships requires a little more sacrifice of yourself, and you're not able to always pour into yourself as much as you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, my voice is going, you guys. This weather has been eventually the weather in the South will straighten out and I'll get my voice back. Um, but the truth of the matter is that in those places where you do have relationships, you have to be able to pay attention and nourish those relationships. And so being able to nourish the relationships that you have does take some time, and it may take some time away. And so we were talking about that because it really is a gift to be able to just have everything. If you've made that choice to, like, let's say I'm going to be on my own, I'm going to figure it out, and I just want to, I don't care. Maybe you're at an age where you're just saying, want to get to know myself better. Or maybe you're in a different phase of life where you just want to reconnect because you've been in relationships in the past and you've decided you want to reconnect. Or maybe you're in a relationship and you're not connecting with yourself or your partner the way you want to. So we're going to kind of touch on all those little subjects in the topic of self love because all of them require that component. Did I lose you?
I'm here. I just had to plug in my phone, so I didn't want to. Let's see if that works. I hope I'm not upside down.
You're sideways.
All right, we'll try this. Is that better? That's all right. We'll get this.
Yeah.
We'll get this right. We'll get this
It's
right.
fine. Oh, that the last one you had was fine, but
All right.
you can do it
We're
sideways on one side. I don't know which one.
okay. Not a big deal. Okay. Yeah, I
Okay.
think the key choice words that you that you said are, well, I'm using the word again, is by choice. You know, you are married by choice. I am single by choice. I think those are the words that, you know, we're, we're focusing on tonight is whatever your status is, it's by choice. And if you continue to affirm that the situation that you're in is by choice, we can avoid that self-pity trap and we can focus on switching the track to the self-love track.
Yeah, I like that. I like that because I think that all of us understand the concept of we have soundtracks just playing in our heads over and over and over again, and we we believe them. And so shifting your mindset and shifting your outlook to something that allows you to recognize the positive value that you have in your situation, regardless of what that situation is, I think is kind of cool, you know? And when we were talking about this, I went, before I started dating and after divorce, I went 7 years of just intentionally, like, I know I'm not ready. I know that I want to do some work on me. And
Mm-hmm.
I got married pretty young, and I never did
Mm-hmm.
have that time, right, to
Mm-hmm.
explore who I was. I went from being who I
Mm-hmm.
was at home with my parents to who I was as a
Mm-hmm.
wife. I was 19 and a half when I got married, you know? So
Wow.
there was no exploring who I was and growing or developing what I wanted that to look like. And then I was in an 18-year marriage. So coming out of that, not only did I have to kind of overcome the trauma part of it, but as I moved through that, recognizing that I needed all of this time and space to love me,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I didn't really know anymore who I was. I was so used to being in roles,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
You can't really skip developmental tracks or developmental milestones. And um, being romantic is, you know, has its own developmental milestones. Like exploring romance and love in and outside of yourself is, it's a natural course of our human development. That's how we connect. That's how we get our hearts broken. That's how we break hearts. That's how we find true love. And that's a lot of what we, you know, celebrate for this Hallmark holiday. Albeit it's more of a campaign, you know, to stimulate certain parts of the economy. Whatever your take is on that, it's interesting. You can't really skip that. You can't skip over that. I didn't get married that young, but I did get married young enough because I didn't date in high school. I didn't date in college, and so when I got out of college, I didn't even date that much before I had my first serious relationship, and then I got married, and then we had kids. I was like, boom, we were engaged, married, and had our first child like all within a year, and then it just, we never had time to get to know one another. I didn't really know who I was. I knew I wanted to have kids and be married. I didn't know exactly what that sacrifice entailed. And so when I got divorced around the same age you did, which sounds like late 30s, my 40s were really my 20s. So I'm at the end of my 40s now, and I think I spent most of my 40s just having fun, just having
Yeah.
boyfriends and dating, and I mean dating a lot, and it was really fun. But I'm like, okay, I now I got that out of my system. You know, I know what I want next, but we can't really skip over that. And now there were some parts in that decade where I did, you know, have solitude for months and maybe a year at a time, and that has happened again for various reasons, for some life circumstances that changed last spring, unbeknownst, you know, to our family. And I have no complaints. Like, I have no complaints. I think in the past, you know, it's a pattern. And I don't know, Dan, if you want me to go into the energetics a little bit on this, or if
Absolutely.
that's premature. Okay. So I understand there's same-sex relationships, so I'm not going to speak to that necessarily. I'm just going to define things as divine masculine, divine feminine, and if it's a same-sex relationship, I'm sure one person aligns with more being the divine masculine or feminine, but I'm not genderizing this. I'm just saying that there's divine masculine and divine feminine, and we work our energies through that. So, the divine feminine will work her energy through the divine masculine, and at a certain point, the learnings are achieved, and then one or both moves on or stays together if they're both on the same track and elevating, right? Like if the divine feminine's elevating, divine masculine's here, and she got her learnings in, the relationship just dissolves and she moves on and she brings in another male energy and works that, or vice versa. But usually it's the woman who's ascending and the male is ascending in the energies along with her. And so I bring this up because a lot of times when people have a difficult time, like being alone, it's just we have this dependency of like working our energy through the man. Or I mean, I'm assuming more of this audience is women, but I mean, for all those men out there, the same. The man needs to anchor into the spiritual energy of the woman, because the woman is the divine. I'll just say the divine feminine is usually the very spiritual of the two energies, right? And so the male, whatever the male energy represents, wants to anchor into the spirituality of the divine feminine. The divine feminine needs the male energy to work through the male energy to help her ascend, or to help that energy ascend. And so when you are able to be alone and you're not dependent, you can spend some period of time on your own, you will eventually bring in that other energy when the time is right. But all you're doing is creating time and space for that to occur, and you just continue to work and ascend. You can do that through your own, like just paying attention to your own self-care, meditating, reading some good books, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, exercising, going to bed, avoiding alcohol and drugs, really staying connected to, your intuition, cleaning out, keeping your home clean, keeping your friendships clean, living with integrity, all those things, right, that we talk about with life coaching and ULA and all the 7Fs. So there is this sort of these, like an onion, these layers, right? So we are, when we're alone, by choice, if we are alone, we're not alone. We're never alone. We're always being guided. We're always being taken to our next level. And how we see that determines how we move. So if we continue to kind of swirl, like swirl is when you kind of stay in a pattern and you just kind of keep circulating in that pattern, like, oh, and you have all this internal dialogue, I'm alone and nobody loves me and I'm not worthy, no one's ever going to want to be with me and I'm not good enough, and that you can stay there, and then you will continue to attract situations. I don't know, this is like a new thing now, I see situationships, what that means, but where you're stuck in the same situations with the same people, or you can opt to say, you know what, I am just gonna take a little break and I'm just gonna figure out what these triggers are, where they're coming from, what it feels like to feel, the little, tremors, when I'm feeling that little bit of something come to the surface, where I see a couple at the movies, or like I see Valentine's Day coming up and, oh, nobody's going to be getting a card for me. And where is that really coming from? It really could stem from your childhood. It could stem from, just clearly not, knowing how you need to feel loved. So you need to receive all this external validation in order to revive the absence of that internal validation. And so that was a big one. So it's like really going inside and validating like what it is you're bringing to the table. Like you said,
And then and I had this conversation with someone, maybe it was you, I think I've had this multiple times past few days, when you bring in that partner, whether you're a man bringing in the woman bringing in the man, or you come in at the same time, they're going to have a family, they're going to have friends, they're going to have job issues, they're going to have health issues at some point, they're going to have emotional issues in a bad day, and they're going to lean on you. And yeah, you have that extra person to lean on for help and support, and that seems on the outside like, oh, you're so lucky, you have a husband who makes you coffee and brings you fresh coffee. Yeah, but you know what? She also has to do laundry for him, and sometimes he's there in front of the TV and she's like, hello, I'm here, like, are you gonna ask me how my day is? And so we we have to handle each other's stuff. So if you can't handle your
Right.
own stuff, how are you going to be able to handle and balance in an emotionally mature way? So these are like good
Yeah.
things to kind of keep in the back of your head as we talk more about self-love in the month of self-love, because our society really premeditates like what love is, and we romanticize through, we've just been through the Hallmark holiday season and all those rom-coms, and now we go into Valentine's Day, and I think it just keeps snowballing throughout the year, and we just have to get out of the cycle of perpetual external validation and come in from where do I receive how do I receive the internal validation?
Yeah, and I think, something that you were saying kind of is sticking with me, and you talked about the spiraling, right? And how if you find yourself in that place where you just keep cycling through the same things, or like what you said, situationships, which is a really great way to word that, is that when you think about those things and you start really becoming aware, which I think is a huge part of loving yourself, is just acknowledging these things, becoming very aware of where it's coming from, and knowing that if you're repeating those patterns, there's something there for you to learn and you're not learning it. Like you need to step out of the cycles or, you know, the spiraling, as my husband loves to call it with me, and be able to stop and take note so that you recognize where it's coming from and understand the root. Because if you do, it's going to help break that pattern for you. You will learn your lesson from that. You will understand the intention and the message you're supposed to be receiving about that. And when you do finally get that, you're going to be like, oh, and then that's when that pattern stops repeating. And that's when you can move to the next level or the next whatever. It elevates
Well, it may
your
not stop repeating, but the intensity, it will repeat, but when it repeats, it just won't affect you anymore. And then you know that you've mastered that lesson. So it's not so much like, oh, you're not going to continue to get that itch. It's just not going to bother you anymore. People's behaviors won't bother you. Watching Hallmark movies won't make you feel sad. The Hallmark movies aren't going to go away. Valentine's Day is not going to go away. You may still say like this is a stupid cheesy holiday and I don't have anyone, but I don't really care. Like I'm actually glad I don't have anyone, because I don't have anyone, to piss off because I didn't get them a card or I didn't get flowers. So, I mean, there's a lot of freedom that
right.
you.
Well, right.
It's
So,
it's it's an interesting, like, the thing I hear most, in my line of work, a lot of women are looking for freedom. Like, they're in relationships and marriages, and they're happy. And there's nothing bad, but it's just like, I don't have time for myself, Sheila. I don't have time to go work out. I don't have time. I just want to read a book. I just want to relax. I don't want to talk to anyone. I would be so grateful if I could just go away for 2 days and just do nothing and read a book and just relax. So, but
yeah.
it's funny when you reverse the situation and a single woman has like the weekend without her kids and she's got 2 or 3 days to herself. Oh, I'm alone. Everybody's got someone. And then everyone that's
Right.
got someone wants to have the 2 or 3 days alone. I mean, come on, people. Like, we all think the grass is greener. So, Yeah, the
Right.
patterns, the triggers will still be there. The pattern, yes, you'll step out of that learning and that pattern, but then like the next layer gets unpeeled, and then you'll get triggered in another way. And so this is for the rest of our life. We're always in the learnings. We're always in motion. We just keep learning lessons. We just don't have to keep learning the same ones.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to say too. And I like how you put it, like the things don't disappear, but your reaction, your feelings, and your emotions about those things no longer are um, harmful or hurtful or triggering or,
Right.
whatever it was. You're able
Exactly.
to, yeah, you're just able to see it for what it is and just move right on along. And it's not the same impact. Um, and that's one of the things, when we talk about energy, and you can correct me here, but it takes a lot of energy to spend your time in these places
Mm-hmm.
of feeling what, whether it's pity or I don't know, when you're feeling down, I feel like that sucks so much energy out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can really recognize and work through that, you have more opportunity to have that freedom that you might long for, because you create space when you acknowledge what you're dealing with and are able to move through those things. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
Yeah, I mean, it's like this, all of us get a blank canvas every time we wake up in the morning. And when you free yourself of your patterns, you open up opportunity. You open up opportunity for blessings. You open up opportunity for synchronicities. You're just open. Here's another way I would describe it. Uh, okay, a lot of people are plagued by anxiety for different reasons, right? And they just want to figure out, like, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? They're always worrying about if they're in the right place, doing the right thing, or perhaps they're plagued by, pain from a loved one passing, and they're so caught up in the pain that they can't see straight. They're just, even years after someone passes away, they're still caught up in the cycle of loss, and they're
mhm,
so caught up in the cycle of loss, or so caught up in, they can't even bring in all the blessings and all the messages of what is next on track, what's next on deck in their life, because they're just so caught up in that perpetual cycle of feeling alone from the loss. And it's like, okay, we all go through loss, we all lose loved ones, we all have at some point in our life something that completely awakens us. That's going to happen to all of us at some point. Now, we all should have a period to mourn our losses and then say, all right, that's it. I've had my week, I've had my month, I've had my year, to feel alone, to feel lost, to rediscover what it is, what my life means as it is now. And now I'm ready. And I surrender. I will just be open. I will just wake up and I'll say I'm grateful. I'll read 10 pages of a book. I will text a friend or two good morning, and I will take a nice shower. I'll brush my hair. Maybe I'll put on, if I'm a woman, I'll put on some makeup and just feel good about the day, just to feel good, even if I'm faking it to make it. And if you just continue to do that, and you just say, I'm open, even if the affirmation is, I am open. I'm open to whatever's supposed to happen today. And even if it's not a great day, then maybe that great day was exactly what you were supposed to be open to, because you're still learning. You're still in the process of a testing period, to see if you're really ready to go to the next level. And then maybe a week or two later, you wake up and you go to a coffee shop because you feel like going to get a coffee this morning. And while you're in the coffee shop, you're standing in line and there's someone right next to you, and they notice a bracelet you're wearing, and they're, oh, I love that. Where did you get it? And you're in this conversation. Oh, you went to Sedona? You got it in Sedona? I love Sedona. And you get in this great conversation and you exchange numbers, and that person knows somebody who is the person that you needed to get your website done, or it was the person that is going to be your next client, or it could be a person that says, oh, I know someone I want to fix you up with. You never know when these chance connections and happenings are supposed to occur. That's why you just always want to stay open to feeling icky, or having a bad day, open to saying, you know what, I don't know why, but I feel like I just want to go to a coffee shop and sit there for an hour and read a book. Just go with the feelings to come up. Always go with those feelings. And you're right, Deanna, you're never alone. None of us are ever alone. Even when we're physically alone, we're not alone, because we're always being guided. We're always being protected. And we just have to continue to, subvert the negativity and let that positive, peace come up to the surface. And there's just so much like stored in our subconscious that's waiting to pour forward. And we deny ourselves most of our human life. We deny ourselves that opportunity to truly allow things to come to the surface, because in our human analytical minds, we must logically, rehearse and replay everything. And you're right. You were right. It's very tiring to put our energy into that space. And the moment we decide we're going to surrender, surrendering seems really hard, but actually it's really easy, because once we decide to surrender, we're like, I will tell you, every time I do energy work, I get the same exact feedback almost every single time I'm done with someone, whether they're new or returning. Do you have any guess like how they feel? You want to have any guesses like what they say to me, like how they feel when they come out of a session? Any guess?
When they come out or when they're going in?
When they come out, I feel what? I feel something.
Lighter.
They always say, yes. They say every single time, I feel lighter. That's the first thing they say.
Of course.
All I did was hold space for the energy to move. And once it moves, they feel lighter. Most people after yoga, a good savasana, they feel lighter. Why? Because the practitioner was helping them to move energy. People love yoga. They don't love the practice of yoga, many of them. They love the savasana because they're able to get out of their bodies and out of their heads and just relax, and the energy passes when they surrender in savasana. When I do energy work, the energy passes. I just create the template for it in the space, and then you feel lighter. So
yeah, and I think that like you said, we try to be too cerebral, and it's so much of our intuition, our inner voice, that thing that really guides us has been something we have I don't know, been trained almost and groomed to ignore. And instead of pushing that down and pushing that back, because this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I should do, Erin, a friend, she loves to say, her mom used to tell her, stop shitting all over yourself, right? You are only supposed to or should do the things that are coming up for you and you are drawn to doing. And we don't listen to that enough. And that's where I think people wind up in a place where if they say they're stuck, I think that's where it is. You have this pulling, this thing, like whatever, like you said, even if it's just small enough, just as small as I want to visit a coffee shop and hang out for an hour. It could be just as little as that, or it could be call a friend, or it could be go show up somewhere. It could be, today I want to write in my journal. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, like follow that. Follow that. Instead of saying, oh, but I got all of these other things that I have to do, and you're rushing around and you're busy. I promise you, if you do those things that are you're being kind of called to do, if you do those, somehow you wind up with more time to accomplish the things you want to accomplish than when you run around. And time, I guess, we all think of time as linear, but time expands when you do the things you're called to do. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure the seconds are still ticking away.
Time sometimes, when things are really good, time moves sometimes too quickly. Like I'm already looking at the clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do we only have like 25 minutes left? That just went by so fast. And sometimes when you're at the dentist, it's like, oh my gosh, when is this going to be over? So we can stretch time when we're like anxious and we're feeling provoked, and other times when we're truly, our inner child is really connected in and we're in a full-blown moment of creativity and the energy is just flowing. Time can move very quickly. It's, you know, we are given just very precious, precious amounts of time to be here. And what I was thinking while you were talking is, if I were in the same room with someone that was complaining, I'm alone and no one loves me and it's Valentine's Day and I don't have anyone and people are just going to go out this weekend, I'm all by myself at home watching a movie, and I would probably sit in the room for a minute and say, okay, you're right, now what?
Right.
Okay, now what?
Right.
Well, I don't know. Okay, what do you? Okay, what do you want to do? What do you like? I, I don't know. Just the entire identity is just based off of comparison and lack. Okay, but
Right.
do you want to get a massage? Do you want to get acupuncture? Like, what would, even if you were with someone this weekend, what would you want to do with them? Like, how would you want? Well, I don't know. Where would you want to go? Well, I have no idea. So, all right, and I'm just making this up. I'm just saying, like, fictitiously. So, you're upset because you're not with someone. It's Valentine's Day weekend, and everybody's out doing fun stuff except for you, but you have no idea what you would want to do if you have a person. You just know that it's unfair. So, to me, that's just a waste of energy, because
Right.
go take yourself out on a date. Go get a massage. Go get a manicure, pedicure. Like, go take yourself out and go shopping and buy a blouse or something, a little knickknack for your house. Like, it will totally shift the energy. If you do
I
self-care and you go somewhere, it'll shift your energy. Buy something for your house, it'll shift your energy. How on earth? No one else is going to shift your energy. Like, no man or woman's going to come in your life and just sweep you off your feet and say, you are amazing. Can I take you to Paris, France this weekend on my jet and just show you the world? I mean, come on, people. It's like,
why not? What? No, but it's funny that it's funny that you say it though, because I remember a specific period, like kind of after I was kind of things were kind of settling down as far as the chaos of the whole divorce and all the mess that followed it. And I was like, I am by myself. It was around, I don't, I guess it was probably around Christmas. Um, because and the reason I remember that is, movies coming out around Christmas time. Anyway, whatever day it was, I just found myself, I didn't have work, I didn't have the kids, I didn't have anything. And I was like, you know, I looked at myself and I'm like, this is just sad. And then I was like, you know what? I've never gone to the movies by myself. I'm going to the movies. And I had never, like, it was always a group event, a date
Mhm.
event.
Mhm.
I took the
Mhm.
kids to the movies. We went with friends, family, sisters, whatever. Never was a thing. Had never been to the movies by myself. And then when I went, I was like, this is amazing. Like, nobody's giving me commentary. I'm sitting exactly where I want to sit. I didn't have to fight for the seat. I'm eating all the popcorn. I got the big bucket with the refills. And for the first time in my life, I also movie hopped and didn't pay for the next two movies. I literally was in the movie theater for hours. I just stayed there for like half the day. Just go to the next movie. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I was like, well, I've never tried that before either. I've never done it again either, but
I know. Well,
I'm
now they assign
encouraging.
your seats. When you buy your ticket, you pick your seat. So I don't know how you would do
Well,
that, but
some theaters, we still have some theaters here that aren't like that, and then we do have some theaters that they serve you at your seat, and so then you're assigned seats. But this was a long time ago, so whatever.
I think
It was
everybody
just
should try that. I think everybody that's here tonight, like, raise your hand if you've been to the movies alone. And if you haven't, like, you need to do that. Like, that is a humble moment, because that is not easy. And that will really
right.
teach you, like, how to feel like you belong amongst, in the collective. That is a good one.
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, I always thought, oh, what are people going to think too? Like, I'm going to be walking in here by
Yeah.
myself, sitting by myself. What are these people going to think? And the truth of the matter is, I don't think anybody was paying any attention to me at all. They were worried about
Oh my gosh,
themselves.
of course they weren't. No, they're probably on their
Hey,
dates and
Monica.
trying.
Yeah, they weren't worried about me. Hey,
Hey,
Monica, what's up?
hey, sweetie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I go to the movies by myself all the time. Could give a rat's ass what anybody thinks. I love it. Been doing it for years. Love it. See a lot of people by themselves. I mean, it's just for me because of my work and how busy I am. It gives me a chance to just kind of get away and escape and have fun. But I've never worried about what somebody thinks, and I dine alone by myself as well. That doesn't bother me either whatsoever because I'm one of these people that I never meet a stranger. So even when I dine alone, the next thing you know, I'm yippee yapping and clapping and hollering and laughing with somebody sitting next to me. So, who cares? Just enjoy your life and get over it.
I love it. Now, I know, it's funny you say that because I never really thought about the fact that I'd go out to, eat or, a lot of times by myself. I did that by myself all the time. And that didn't seem to bother me. The movie was a little bit more of a like a what? I had to wrap my head around that. But I, when I was alone, I'd go, I mean, I had people with me sometimes, but sometimes I would just go after work and sit at the bar and eat my meal and have a drink. And trust me, you're never alone. It's like, cheers or
Yeah.
whatever. You always have somebody.
For me it was like traveling alone because before I was married, I didn't do that much traveling by myself. And I
Hmm.
remember after my divorce when I had to get on the plane and take care of my boarding pass, and I was just because he did everything. I was like, it was really like the first couple times were really rough. Like just advocating for myself. I'm like, who do I ask? Who do I go to? I felt like a little girl. And now, I just when I get on the plane, I'm like, give me my space. Like, don't talk to me. I want to read my book. Like, I have my whole plan.
Ooh,
But
do
the
you
first few
find now that,
times, huh?
go ahead,
No,
go
no,
ahead,
go ahead.
finish.
I'm
I'm
waiting.
sorry.
No, that's it.
I was
I
going
mean,
to
there's really.
ask, we must have a little delay. I was just going to ask, like, do you find yourself now when you travel that you actually prefer to travel alone and have that peace of just being able to be in your seat and put your headphones on and watch a movie that you probably wouldn't have gotten a chance to watch or read your book or whatever?
Yeah, I just like the feeling that I can get from one place to the other by myself. And it was so funny
Yeah.
because I remember seeing somebody's post the other day, and she's a very, very well known yoga teacher in the area and has tons of followers. She's a huge influencer. And I guess she and her partner were traveling a couple weeks ago, and she made a joke in her stories because I don't think they were supposed to be sitting next to each other. They must have made a last minute decision. And then I think at the last minute, the airline somehow I don't know who initiated it, but they ended up getting like their seats. He ended up getting his seat right next to her, and he was actually kind of like bummed and upset about it because it was like a 4 hour flight. And she made a joke of it. She was not offended at all because they're both very independent, because he actually just wanted an excuse to have 4 hours to himself and do whatever he wanted. And now it's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, maybe she's going to want to talk. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. Even really stable couples, like, they might prefer just to be alone, on a flight and not be on the same plane, but not be sitting next to each other. I think it's very natural, like Monica said, to just want to eat alone, go see a movie alone, go fly alone. Doesn't matter if you're married, doesn't matter if you're single. Like, we all just sometimes need time to be alone. And we don't need a holiday to tell us that we need to be coupled, to be happy, to be satisfied
Whole,
internally.
to be complete. You're
Be
whole and
complete.
complete all in yourself. And that's something else we talked about because in our conversation we talked about the fact that if you aren't whole and complete in yourself, then you can't really have a complete relationship with other people, regardless of what that relationship is, because you can't really live up to your side, right? If you're not, whole within yourself and you're not feeling at home in your skin, you're going to look for someone else to fill those pieces that you feel like aren't there. And that's really not on somebody else to do. But when you bring your whole self into a situation, then people really know who you are. They can love you for who you are because that's what you show them. And then you are really giving a relationship, if that's what you choose, the best opportunity to succeed because you're presenting the truth of who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big thing that
And then you're not going to take it personal. Oh, sorry.
I just think it's a big thing when if you decide to enter into a relationship, to know what that up front. I mean, that's a cool thing to bring to a relationship.
I think it's a very cool thing. And you're not going to, when somebody says they need space, you don't take it personally because you've had so much space. You crave it yourself, and you don't feel insecure when you don't do everything together. And this goes back to the beginning of our talk, Deanna, about energy and the divine masculine and divine feminine. It's you, like, the divine masculine is attracted to the feminine energy that is rising up. Like, that's kind of where we are right now in the atmosphere of our times. It's called 5D, fifth dimension. And so the male energy can't thrive unless that energy is moving up. Like, you obviously are the leader in that divine feminine in your relationship. Like, you are moving up and circling up and up in the energies as you rise up in your career, as you reach out to a broader and broader audience each week, as you went from doing Clubhouse to doing Fireside, increasing your audience, I'm sure, by hundreds. Now, as you elevate and elevate and elevate, your husband elevates with you, and he is drawn and attracted to that. And as long as you are elevating in that divine feminine, you will never ever have to worry about that male energy going anywhere. That's all the divine masculine wants, is to continue around a highly evolved spiritual energy. And me, if we're not spending time
I
for
don't know if it's
yourself,
me or if
whether
it's you.
you're
You kind
single
of
or
went
married,
into.
like, your relationship. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, whether you're single or married, if you are not working, if you're not elevating as the, divine feminine energy, if you're not working on yourself, like, the masculine has nowhere, that masculine energy has nowhere to go, and that relationship is eventually going to blow out. It's just not going to survive. So you have to know how to take care of yourself. You have to know what tools that you need to replenish, and you have to know how it feels to be alone, and that being alone is okay, or else you don't evolve. Like, that's just really it. And I know we say simple things like Monica said, I eat alone. You said I go to a movie alone. I said I travel alone. And those, we're just talking about simple things, but try it. Like, try going to a coffee shop alone if you haven't done it and you're watching this replay. Try going to stay in a hotel overnight alone, like on a trip somewhere. Try going to a restaurant in your area alone, or a new spot. Like, see how that feels. If you feel nervous, if you feel self-conscious, then you are working through an energy of feeling self-conscious. You're working through an energy of feeling exposed. You're working through an energy of feeling vulnerable. You're working through an energy of feeling uncertain or unloved. But be with that. If you're sweating bullets while you're ordering off the menu and you have to look at your phone to pretend that you are engaged with something, to feel connected to something, if that you need to do that, or bring a book to feel connected to a thing, like, do what you need to do, but try it. Like, see how that feels, and you will work through that. Just like you said, Gianna, when there's a pattern and then work through it, right? Then it just,
Mm.
the triggers will still be there. It'll still be hard to go out alone again, but it'll just get a little easier until it doesn't bother you anymore. And then after you go to a movie alone and you eat out alone, then go get on an airplane alone. Then keep doing it. Go travel abroad alone. Like keep testing that.
Yeah, and I think this plays to something that we don't tap into either, and that is curiosity. At some point, somewhere in, after we were, 5, I don't know, toddler age, they're curious, right? But at some point, our curiosity goes just away. It gets less and less and less